The Bahamas' reaction to President Moïse's assassination. As of Saturday, 17 Colombians and 2 Haitian Americans from South Florida were in custody in Haiti in connection with the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse, according to the Miami Herald. Moïse was shot in the early morning hours of July 7th during an attack on his private residence. His wife, First Lady Martine Moïse, was flown to Florida for treatment where she remains in hospital. A person who interviewed the detained men told reporters that they said they were hired by a company called CTU Security in Miami-Dade County. Herald staff went to their offices where a doorbell connected to a phone. When they rang, a man on the other end refused to talk about the events in Haiti. Sources in Haiti said the suspects have been in the country for at least 3 months and that they had told locals that they were working for CTU Security. Check the links to read more about the suspects' claims, including that they went to arrest Moïse, not kill him. Also, if you have family in Haiti or lived in Haiti, I'd love to know what news sources you trust, especially if they publish in English. But what I'd really like to talk about is the way we talk about these events in the Bahamas. Under the headline, RBDF prepares for Haitian exodus in the Nassau Guardian, we find out that the Royal Bahamas Defence Force is sending vessels to the southeast Bahamas in anticipation of a possible mass exodus of migrants fleeing Haiti in the aftermath of the assassination. RBDF Commodore Dr. Raymond King said things like enhancing our strategic posture, and we really beefed up on our human intelligence aspects so we can get proactive or a preemptive idea of what's going on in Haiti and if any mass exodus is about to occur. Mass exodus? Are we in the Bible right now? Are we in the Bible? What is he talking about? And in the story, with tens of thousands of Haitians migrating to the Bahamas in recent decades, many of them fleeing poverty, the two countries have deep cultural ties. Tens of thousands is a lot to say without context, and recent decades isn't enough context for me. And then, the ceaseless flow of poor migrants has bred contempt and resentment among many in the Bahamas, who view irregular immigration as one of the most pressing issues facing the country. The ceaseless flow? Are Haitians water? What do you mean, ceaseless? It's not something you say without an explanation unless what you're trying to say is Haitian immigration is scary. Also, is it migration that has bred contempt? Or is it stories like this? Is it propaganda from governments and businesses that benefit from their cheap labor and an easy scapegoat? There's more, including vague, the Haitians are coming statements from Minister of Foreign Affairs Darren Hanfield and Progressive Liberal Party leader Philip Brave Davis. Davis also made an empty statement about working together to promote stability in Haiti, in case that brings you any comfort. Oh, and also at the end of the story, we find that the RBDF Commodore said that fewer migrants were coming to the Bahamas in recent months, so yeah. He said that the RBDF is doing a good job of making it hard for Haitians to travel through the Bahamas, and they would likely end up on family islands that they don't want to go to. So it makes it easier to corral and return them. Easier to corral them. The subject of Haiti deserves more time and expertise than I can offer you, dear listener, but there are a few things I'd like you to remember when discussing the first independent nation in the Caribbean and the second democracy in the Western Hemisphere. Haiti paid for its independence in blood, revolting against slavery and defeating Napoleon at a cost of at least 100,000 Haitian lives. Europeans also died. After the revolt, French King Charles Who Gives a Crap demanded, under threat of war, that Haiti paid for the lost revenues of slavery at a price that ended up at 19 million francs, billions of dollars in today money. To put that in perspective, just 20 years before that, the United States paid 15 million francs for the Louisiana Purchase, an area that stretches across 10 states and covers 828,000 square miles from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico. That was 15 million francs, but Haiti had to pay 19 million. Haiti was forced to borrow money from French banks and did not finish paying them their blood money until 1947. It is impossible to quantify the devastating impact of this extortion on a country whose resources have been exploited to enrich Europe since 1492. But perhaps more relevant to today is the way we exploit Haitians to enrich the Bahamas. How many of us are reading this surrounded by walls built by Haitian bodies, uninsured, working while sick, doing the most dangerous tasks for the lowest pay? Over this Independence weekend, how many meals did you eat prepared by Haitian hands attached to empty stomachs? How many times have you paid a Haitian worker less than the pathetic minimum wage because you knew you could get away with it? How many of us were carried to Rose Island on boats paid for with money made by exploiting our permanent underclass? Do you ever think about the way stories like this affect the many Haitian Bahamians or the kind of treatment they face when they are constantly dehumanized by fear-mongering like this? How many times do you laugh at racist jokes while enjoying the fruits of racism? Haitian immigrants are the foundation our economy is built on. Unable to negotiate for better, permanently under threat of deportation by the police, threatening bosses, and the last random Bahamian they didn't answer with a fast enough "yes, sir." This Bahamaland cannot exist without the ceaseless flow of Haitians, but we hide from that truth behind racism and xenophobia. How long we can hide is anyone's guess. I hope it's not much longer.